Scorpio, welcome to your weekly sidereal forecast for July 6th to the 12th. My name is Athen. So this week we're coming off that full moon, which was taking place in that second house of yours. Perhaps there was some changes, as there has been perhaps for the past few years, relating to your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance and the material or financial side of things. So here Pluto is showing you non-attachment there, and through that non-attachment there can be growth, of course, through that area. And that full moon really illuminated that, perhaps helped you see that. And so it's still being activated this week because Pluto will be opposing up to the Sun on Monday and slightly up to Mars going into next week. So here the importance, especially with the Sun who rules your 10th house, is having non-attachment to career stuff will be the emphasis on Monday. But all week I would be focusing on the balance between the material side of things, which is that non-attachment there, and then also non-attachment to the deeper aspects of life. There's a lot of deeper things happening here in your 8th house. You've got the Sun and Mars, Mercury shifting into here this week. So this is where you can be very intent, very driven, to perhaps dive deep and see the truth, and that's good, and that's exactly what you want to do with this kind of aspect, and see the truth, which is the Sun really illuminating that and asserting yourself there with those things. But of course, balancing this deeper stuff with the simple life, the enjoyments of life, which is the second house, and not going to any extremes here, not going to the extreme of just simply enjoying the senses, and then not going to the extreme of just getting so entranced into the transformational stuff that we take all the enjoyment out. So finding that middle path and that balance, and again, having non-attachment to both will be a very important consideration, I think, especially relating to that career stuff on Monday, and also these deeper things, non-attachment to, life and death, beginnings, endings, transformation, the deeper connections of life, what life is truly about, stuff like this. So that is very supportive, though, this week as well, because Neptune is trining up to Mars, your ruler, on Wednesday, actually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, with all this faith and trust that you've perhaps had with your emotional body or your family or roots, in some way, with Neptune transiting your 4th house. That's all very supportive right now at the moment, with all these nice transits up to Neptune, who's then trining up to Mars, unlocking that energy to assert yourself and put energy into understanding truth and all this 8th house stuff. So I think you'll find that very relaxing, actually, very peaceful and very spiritual, when getting active about the truth and things that are meaningful to you in life, which is always very important. So that is supportive, even supportive towards you, because it's your ruler, and your routine and health, because Mars does also naturally rule your 6th house as well. So that's the middle part, as well as Mercury going into the 8th on Wednesday. He's in dignity here, so he's actually very well placed in Gemini. And so I think you'll be naturally thinking more, wanting to uncover more about these, deeper things, and perhaps attachments and stuff like that. So that's great. Put that in, that intellectual, conceptual energy into that. And I think you can learn quite a bit, and perhaps get quite a bit done if it is relating to things like shared resources and stuff, which is a more external view of the 8th house, is shared resources and those types of things that we are connected to in general. So that's that's Monday, and that's the highlight in general just of the week. On Wednesday, Mars trining Neptune. I think just in general there can be a lot of faith and trust for you guys. It's middle part, and then Mercury going in there. And then when Mercury goes in there on Wednesday, on Friday and Saturday he'll be squaring up to the North Node. So this sort of weekend time period, reminding you that this whole life path of the year is about groups, friends, networking, community-related things. Now, this may or may not be personal, depending on your personal chart, but that's where the North Node's been transiting. So I'd really recommend putting in that conscious, constructive intent towards those 11th house matters of ideals, visions, technological things, or whatever it might be for you, social things even. And that you'll find a facilitating life path, for you. But it will take that intent and conscious energy. So that's the bulk of it. Sunday going into next week, we have a couple aspects I want to talk about very briefly, but I'll cover these in more detail in the next week's reading. We've got the Sun squaring up to Uranus, which is about sudden changes and wanting to, make some rash decisions. So staying grounded, especially because Saturn is going to be squaring up to Venus on Sunday going into next week as well. It's very important to stay grounded over the weekend. There has been a lot of enjoyment relating to life path, philosophy, spirituality, wisdom, gurus, information coming in of the spiritual or philosophical nature, which is great. And with Saturn, it's just a reminder to stay constructive, stay grounded, stay realistic with that, especially with Saturn, who's now going back into your 12th house. So everything you learned over the past few years relating to discipline and seriousness and the grounded aspects of spirituality will be an important consideration going into next week. But like I said, that's next week. I'll cover that in more detail in the next weekly. So this week, definitely the highlight on that 8th house and 2nd house, balancing the deeper with the enjoyment and material side of things, and being willing to have change there in your life and see the truth of things. And all of that will be very nice, because the changes are always for the best. That's always the case with all the planets. But sometimes we resist them and we don't want them. But when we're open to change, then we're in flow with that. So have a nice week, Scorpio. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll talk to you all next time. Take care.